Hey there. I'm listening to the audiobook, The Dream, the Journey, Eternity and God, I think it is, or maybe it's Eternity. Anyway, it's by Sarah Landon. And what I'm listening to this morning inspired me to to share what I'm hearing and what I'm processing energetically, and to practice saying it out loud and seeing how that feels. Okay, so I have for quite a while now have been hearing a lot of things about the fifth dimension and working on ascension. And if you're not if you haven't heard those terms before or know the context, I would encourage you to do your own research, because you're going to find research that resonates with you. And at this point in time, just listen, hear what I have to say, and if it resonates, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay. So what I was hearing this morning from Sarah channeling the council is validating to what I had been hearing and what I had been sensing in my own reality. So humans are ascending. We are becoming more able to hold higher vibrations of energy in our bodies. Like if you went back to even the 80s, there's a different kind of energy that we were able to embody and process and maintain in our living human body. There was a different level of that back then than what there is now in the 2020s. And from my understanding, it had something to do with the shift in 2012, and when they said the world was going to end, and instead what happened was the world started to shift and change. So anyway, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Again, if it resonates with you, cool. If not, no worries. You're just hearing a different perspective, right? So with the ascension, where previously humans were living more in the third dimension, which is the dimension of separation. And by the way, for me, in my perception and understanding, dimensions are not necessarily you can kind of, there are portals to them, and I'm understanding more and more on how to use those portals, but and it's a mindset thing, but that's a different video too. Okay, let me get back to my point. So the dimension is more of a consciousness, where we think of dimensions like third, fourth, and fifth dimensions as being levels. I feel it as a level of consciousness that we're in. And the way that you can move through the different levels, the portals, is by changing your thoughts, your beliefs, and your mindset. So anyway, I hope that that's helpful in helping you to understand where I'm going with this. So with the third dimension, that's the dimension of separation, where people have a belief of lack. They're not necessarily open to other beliefs of abundance for various reasons. And so yeah, the third dimension, Sarah called it the dimension of separation, and that totally resonates with me. The fourth dimension she called the dimension of transformation. And the way she explained it, she talked about, that's where you're working on healing and things like that. So as she's talking about these different dimensions, I can see how they relate to my life throughout my lifespan, and how I felt personal shifts in my consciousness from third dimension to fourth dimension. I went through that period where I really focused on this transformation for me, and this transformation, and I worked on healing this. And I've most recently, especially with my love and authenticity practitioner and emotions, mind, and energy practitioner programs, have done a ton of work around my beliefs and perspectives, and shifting those and changing my rules about life and things like that. So I can totally see where, when I'm in those mindsets, that I'm in the fourth dimension, the dimension of transformation. I can also see very clearly when I'm in third dimension, the dimension of separation. And typically that's when I'm finding myself judging myself, judging others, holding resistance, feeling that I have a lack in something. So that would be my third dimension, consciousness. And then the fifth dimension she talks about is the dimension of pure love energy. She called it Christ consciousness. And through our ascension that's happening, we are becoming more and more able in our human form to hold that, the energy of pure love consciousness. And so when you're feeling zen, when you are feeling so open and loving and truly feeling unconditionally loving, there are so many times where in my personal experience I thought I had been loving unconditionally, and then I realized looking back that I still held conditions there. So I've worked a lot on practicing unconditional love too, which comes with releasing judgments and shifting beliefs and things like that. So when you're feeling in that state, that's where you're in the fifth dimension. And I know I just recently talked about like portals and things and that being a different video, but I actually feel like I could throw it in here. So when you find yourself in a third dimension consciousness of judging and whatnot, and you become aware of that, you can use a portal to shift into fourth or fifth dimension, where you are, you could get to the fifth dimension totally, where you recognize what's happening in your thoughts and everything, and then you consciously, maybe it's through a meditation, maybe it's through going for a walk in nature, however you find yourself connecting with your spirit, you can do that activity. You can take that minute of self-care, whatever it may be, to help you raise up to a high, I don't want to say higher, because they're not, higher almost gives the connotation that one's better than the other, and that's not true. It's just different spaces that we're in, and they all benefit us in one way or another, because if we're in a third dimension, that presents us with so many opportunities to grow and to expand, to actually put us into the fourth dimension and then the fifth dimension. But my point is that the way I see a portal of getting into a different dimension is by shifting my energy and consciously shifting it. Let's see if there was anything else coming to me. I think that sums it up. Oh, one more thing. Another way that I have heard the fourth dimension described is as a trying to think of the word that embodies what I want to express or how to express it. It's like the kind of an in-between dimension. It's the travel space from the third to the fifth, where, like, for example, when I first heard it described this way in my head, I got the picture of like the train station to get to Hogwarts. If you're familiar with the Harry Potter storyline, or like an airport is another way that I saw it, or a bus station. It's not the space that you necessarily stay in. It's the space that gets you from the third to the fifth dimension. So, which makes sense to me when I hear it described by Sarah Landon as the transformation dimension, because that is, you're transforming yourself to expand from the third to the fifth. And as I say expand, that almost, I feel resistance in my body to that, because I have a belief in my head that, I have a belief in my being that expansion is better than not expansion. So that clearly tells me I have some personal mental rules that I can work on around that, which tells me I'm in the fourth dimension right now, because I'm working on transformation. So there you go. You learned about some dimensions and ascension, and there are a lot of other dimensions too, but the ones that she was talking about and that I was listening about are the ones that we can actually embody as humans and hold in our bodies. It's like the highest vibration that we can hold in our bodies right now in this time and space. Alrighty, take care. Bye.